Hello, and welcome to another edition of How to Medium Well. Today, I have Sarah who does spirit art. So bring Sarah. Let's get her. Can't hear you, sweetie. There, I can hear you now. How are you?
About that. I'm doing good. How are you?
I am well. Good morning and welcome. I appreciate having you, and you look beautiful.
Oh, so do you. You're so sweet.
Oh, thank you. And I want to let everyone know that Sarah is my friend, and I have had several pieces of her spirit art done. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, Sarah, about who you are and kind of what brought you into this and how that became you.
Okay. Well, I always had a kind of an inkling that I might be a psychic medium. I've always been an artist, but I never really dove into it. I grew up in Nebraska. It's very conservative there, and I didn't really have any outlet to kind of discover that or to really understand it. So about 4 years ago, I packed up what I had and I moved to Arizona. I just felt this calling to come up here, just a really strong calling to pack up what I had and move up here. And so once I did, I thought, okay, I'm in this big city. Let me see about the psychic mediumship stuff. I see that there's a class I can go to and let me try it. So I started out and it was a channeling class. I had no idea what that was. Um, Something told me to sit up towards the front. And when she asked who's next, I got in the box. Something just said, get in the box. And I got in there and immediately started channeling and had no idea what was going on. One of my guides came through, and basically the message was, we brought her up here. Now show her who she is and what she's supposed to do about it. So it's been a journey the last 4 years to kind of discover what my gifts are and what I can do and how I can help people with them. I went to different classes. I kind of went to about everything that Tina Scudder had to learn about what my gifts might be, psychic mediumship. She proposed spirit art to me because I said I want to do this as a business, and I've never really found something up here that there aren't a bunch of people doing. There's a lot of people that do psychic mediumship. There's a lot of people that do energy work. I also went through class with that. That's how I met Adelita's. We were in Reiki class together, which was a wonderful group. And so I wanted to do something different. And Tina said, why don't you try spirit art? And I had no idea what that was. She said, all you do is you just put the pencil down to the paper and you start channeling whatever comes through. And we asked for her mother to come through, and she came through right away. So I was like, what? I didn't know I could do this. And I've been doing it now for 2 years. It's been a wonderful way to help people. I can bring through guides, I can bring through past lives, whatever your guides think that you need to hear about. And I've really enjoyed doing it.
You know, that is wonderful. And it has been a blessing to have you on this journey as well, because I know for me, it's been very helpful. You've actually channeled people in my life and gotten specific things about their personalities, so it's incredible to be able to think of the mediumship part of it that you can do, but it comes through in your drawings. And that is wonderful. And I love that. I love that you can do that. I do channeled writing, so that's similar, but what you get is more detail and more, just I want to show off my piece, but I don't know yet. But let's see. Let's see. What do you do to connect? Like when someone calls you, what's the process? How do you connect, or are you always connected? Do you turn it off?
So it's evolved over time. And I think it's more of me kind of opening up and understanding that really when you're connecting with spirit, there is no limit. as long as you're working to help somebody. So I put my own limits on myself. And when I realized, wait a minute, if this person needs this help, it's going to come through. So the part that I really have to work on is shielding and grounding myself and protecting myself before I start diving into the work, because what happens is then I kind of hold on to that energy afterwards and it affects me physically. So if you're thinking about getting into this field, you really want to focus on learning that first. It's a very key part of that, because if you're empathic like I am, it can really grab your energy and it can really hold on to it, because spirit gets super excited. They're like, hey, I've got this person in front of me I've been trying to connect with, and now here's, this medium, and she's going to help me get this message. And they get really excited and they pull from your energy, and sometimes you're feeling that other person's emotion about it. And so it's really important to shield and ground yourself. So that's the first thing that I do, but I'm not, I don't at the end let go of it like I should. And so I start out by shield and grounding myself. And then what I do is, I've done it so much now that it just instantly I'm connected, but I really try to make sure there's nothing going on around me. I've tried it like in a shop where there's a lot of stuff going on, and it works. But if you want a really strong connection, just like think of yourself like an interpreter, you're the interpreter. So can you hear it better when it's quiet or when there's a lot of motion going on? And so I've found that when I do it from home, I can really zoom into it. Like I've got earbuds in my ear to spirit, and I can focus straight in on what comes through. And what I ask my clients to do is, we usually have like a Zoom meeting, and I have them record it, because I am channeling straight from their guides or their loved one. And I want them to record it or write it down, because I won't remember. I'm just the interpreter. So I go with whatever comes through in the reading part of it. And in the drawing part, I actually started out closing my eyes and it would come through. I think some of yours, Adelita, were actually completely with my eyes closed. So spirit started with me pretty harsh, like it was coming through really strong and moving my arms around. And I kind of learned over time, hey, let's slow down, spirit. We don't need to use that much energy, and taking a little more time to do the drawings. But I just kept going until the marker or the colored pencils I use would break, and then spirit would tell me the next color in my mind, and I would go to the next color. It's gotten to the point now where I can hear their direction and I listen well enough that they don't break the pencils, that I literally know when to shift it. But it took time, and it took me paying attention to those key clues that they were giving me.
That's incredible. That is wonderful. And I love that you bring up that, you set your intention and then you do the grounding and then the protection. And is it just that you're so overwhelmed sometimes that you forget to release all that energy, or is it just a matter of practice and being diligent with that?
It's probably both. So I get so excited that these messages are coming through. And when the person says, oh my gosh, how did you know that? Or this is so helpful. Or I've been hearing that in my dreams, and here this validates it. And I get so excited, and I'm so happy with, kind of the outcome of the reading, that I forget to close it out and do what I need to do for me. I'm just so excited and happy that I've helped somebody. And so, and when I was really going hard at this, and I had to take a couple months break because it burnt me out. So that's why I really emphasize, grounding and then releasing, because I did this for 60 hours a week for 2 years, and it burnt me out. I have been off for 4 months now. So basically what's happened was I wasn't releasing it. I was going to the next client and just jumping in, like, okay, let's see, I've got this to do and that to do. And I was just jumping in. I wasn't releasing it. Because when you open up spirit, you're opening almost like a portal, and spirit's coming through. And if you don't close it down, they're still excited and they still want to conversate with you, and they're going to be like roaming around you. And I forget that. I forget to do it until there's lots of activity around me and I'm exhausted, and I wonder why am I so exhausted, and it's because I didn't close it down and I didn't transmute out whatever energy I've taken on. So it's a little bit of both, just being scattered and not taking time for me, just getting so excited with helping people.
Well, of course, and when you're in the moment, you want to be useful and you want to be helpful. So I can see how that can happen. Sometimes I forget that as well. And that does, the next day you're like, oh man, I feel like, terrible. Um, and it is important to clear where you've already covered that. What are some of the most interesting things that have come through in a session for you?
And this actually was before I started doing it professionally. It was when I was in the learning stages. I have had actually spirit channel through me and talk to that person um, in another language, in another accent. I've had that happen. I've had multiple family members come through because somebody has passed and the family's arguing and they need somebody to kind of be the voice in the family to kind of talk to everybody and calm them down. I've had a whole group come in and say, hey, I want you to speak to this person. I've had spirit tell me at times they don't want to talk to me. And they've said, hey, I've got things I don't really want to talk to you about, but my person, I've been trying to talk to them and let them know I'm going to talk to them in their dreams. And then they have a dream about it.
I'm
I
glad you
think,
brought that up because I've recently had that where someone really wanted to connect. And then the spirit was like, no, I talk to them all the time in their dreams, tell them to listen. And I was kind of like taken back, like, whoa, but we've got to honor that. So thank you for bringing that up.
yeah, I've had that happen more than once. Usually when it comes from a different culture or there's something going on that they just have a lot of things that are personal and they don't want to share it, just like when they were alive. There's things
Yep.
we don't share with a stranger. And, I honor that. I've had experiences where I'll be somewhere and somebody, their grandma or somebody will want me to say something to them. And I'm like, okay, I don't know that that's appropriate right now. I've had that kind of stuff happen. It's almost like when you're open and you forget to shut down, everybody's at you, kind of like the movies where they're see you, oh, you see me, and they're, coming at you. So I have to shut that down. I try really hard to do that when I'm on my personal time. Um, what are some other things? When people's past lives started coming to me and I started seeing overlays on their face, now that now that is really cool. And when some of the things started going beyond this world, I had a whole group of like, I would say about 100 people that are star seeds that have guides that are not from this plane. And when I started going to one, then the next one, and when all of their guides started coming through and they were validating, oh my gosh, yes, I've seen this in a vision and I've heard this and then the sound. And that was a territory I knew nothing about, anything that we consider alien. I knew nothing about that. And when that started coming through and past lives started coming through, and then the overlay, and then my guide started showing me visions of how it all connects together in the matrix, that blew my mind, because that's when I realized there's really no limit to what spirit can tell you as long as it's going to be helpful and the person's ready to hear that information.
I love that. And I was one of the ones that you actually, I remember getting a hold of you. I'm like, hey, Sarah, remember that painting you were going to do for me? And you said, well, I don't know if you're going to like it. And you were talking and you were like, well, and I'm like, just give it to me. I can feel it. I can sense it. I just know. So I have to show this at the end of this. I will show it. But that's amazing. And I love that you can connect on such an amazing level. You are like one of my favorite people. You really
Oh,
are. I just love your talents, your abilities. Define mediumship versus psychic for me.
well, I can only go with my own understanding.
Right. And that's what I love about this, because everybody has their own, you know, like separation, or if they're one and the same. I just know that whatever comes through is supposed to come through when it's supposed to come through.
So as I've gotten into this and I started getting into the star seed stuff and letting every guide that possibly could come through, I realized that it's way more complicated than we kind of define it. So if I was to try to define myself, I really can't define it as just psychic mediumship or this or that, because I'm basically like a interpreter. So whatever spirit's coming through that is a higher vibration and wants to speak to the person in front of me, I allow that. And so it can be an overlay of mediumship and other things. But to me, mediumship is more those that have passed, that were human, that come through ancestors, people that you know, friends, family, any pet that you may have. I've had a few pets, and they've actually showed up and made noise in my kitchen. That happened one time. I was speaking to somebody about something totally different, and all of a sudden their pet showed up in my kitchen, and I was in the living room, and I heard this noise like the collar rattling. And so that to me is the mediumship part of it. But yet there's this whole like in between where you've got all these other beings that are from other planes and other out in the galaxy, you know? So where do you put those, you know?
Right.
The psychic part, I guess, to me is just tuning in. It's tuning into what spirit shows you. Is it past, present, future? What is it? They're giving you what they want to give you. I tell people, you know, I can give you what you need to hear, but I'm not going to be able to pull all this other stuff that you don't need to hear, because spirit's going to tell me what they want to tell me. And they've made it very clear to me, don't you get a big head about this, because you are the interpreter. You are the go-between. You are the channel, and we will give you what you need to pass along. So I guess if that makes sense, that's my definition of, because it's everything to me. Psychic is maybe more, you know, when you're talking about past, present, future, details of the life, all that kind of stuff. And the mediumship is more centered around those that have passed. But
And I agree. And, you know, something that I've been thinking about as humans, we want labels. You know, we feel comfortable with labels. And I went through this with my daughter because she's like, I don't want to be recognized as a medium. She doesn't like the word psychic. She, you know, so there's certain things. And she says, no, we get so involved with labels.
right.
She says, I'm intuitive. I want to be mystic. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So we do kind of get wrapped around as humans, but I also have been told, you're just the megaphone. You're just the microphone. That's your job. Now just sit up there, look pretty, and say what you're going to say. I'm like,
Just
okay.
draw people with your energy. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so I appreciate that. What kind of tips would you give for those who are wanting to develop these gifts and abilities? Like what would you share? What would you want them to know that you didn't perhaps going in?
I know when I first thought that there was something that I was connecting with, because I was getting messages and things, and I'm like, I wasn't thinking that. Where did that come from for that person? Um, I was in an area where I felt like I couldn't be me because I might get made fun of, or literally where I lived in a small town. I think that if I had told my friends and family some of the things that I was actually experiencing, they would have thought I was crazy and like put me on the psych ward, you know? So I guess what I would say is find those people that you can connect with that are trying to understand those abilities, whether it's online or it's, you know, you have to go. I used to connect to a store in Lincoln. It was the only crystal store I could find in Nebraska that had this huge, you know, inventory of psychics. And I would go in there and I would ask questions and I would be a part of what they had going on. Find a class, whatever it is that you can do to kind of learn about it. I started out with an empath group also online because I knew that I was empathic and I wanted to understand what that meant. And I felt like, oh my gosh, there's other people like me. Because once you start connecting with other people like you're going to start having more confidence in yourself and your abilities. And you're going to want to dive in and find out more about them. And you're not going to care what other people think. I worried so much about what other people thought most of my life. And do you know, I'm the happiest I've ever been. I may not have the looks I used to have. I may not be skinny like I used to be, but I have more confidence in me because I finally realized that I have some gifts that I can help people with and I can really be excited about using. And so, like, diving into finding about that and not talking to the people about it that don't care or don't want to know about it, because you know what? They may never understand it, and that's okay. They're just not awoke to that yet. But when they are, they'll come to you and they'll say, "Oh, remember when you told me this? You know, I understand it now." So, like, reaching and finding, that's what's wonderful about the internet now. You can find the groups. You can find even practice groups and training online. If you're in the smallest town in the USA and you want to get online and find that class and that group, you can. You can start your own. There's other people like you that are scared and don't want to, like, learn about it. So because they're scared. So I would say tackle it and, like, dive in and find out about yourself, because you'll be surprised.
I love that. And I love your energy, your vibe. I love your spirit art. You truly are very dear to me. You always have been. I appreciate you. I thank you for your time today. Anything that you want to leave any future clients or anyone knowing what can you give? What piece of information, what nugget of truth or wisdom do you want to share?
I guess what I would like to say is the most important thing is to find that inner confidence in yourself. So if you need to go to somebody like me or like Adelita and find out what those gifts are, or find out what direction to go, start with that and go from there. But the most important thing is for you to value, because if you're interested in this kind of stuff, you're probably a light worker. You're probably somebody who really, your energy affects other people in a positive way. And you need to understand that. You need to understand the value of that and understand you don't have to give the shirt off your back to affect people in a positive way. All you have to do is just smile and be you and keep that light going. Don't let anybody put that light out, because believe me, they're going to try. And all you have to do is smile and do things that you enjoy, and be around people and spend time with people you enjoy their energy. They don't drain you. And I can tell you, you're going to start feeling 100% better, because you are
Love that.
never alone. That's one thing I've learned. You are never alone. You have a group. And most of my clients have, I can tell you, if you are empathic and you're a positive energy, you've got a mall's worth of guides behind you, ancestors, past lives, all kinds of beings and family members and friends, and they're there and they're with you, and you're never alone.
I love that. Thank you so much, Sarah. How can people get a hold of you? And are you doing readings now again?
I am just starting to do them again. I'm getting my website up. You can find me at S Lyle, Lyle 83 on Instagram. You can see my artwork there. This is one of them here. This is a couple guides of someone. If you go on there, you can message me. You can get a hold of me on my phone number at 402-469-9842. I'm starting to book. It's going to be more towards March, but then March on, I'm going to be working 3 to 4 days a week, so I don't burn myself out again.
Yes.
And I can tell you the different sessions that I do. But I also will have a website up soon that will be listed on my Instagram. So
Wonderful. Sarah, thank you again. And you are nothing but love and light to me. I am grateful to have you in my life. And thank you for allowing me to interview you for my program, How to Medium Well. Thank you.
thank you, Adelita. I'm so grateful to be here. And I know this program is going to be fantastic. Thank you for having this platform.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, my
Bye-bye.
friend.
Okay, I just wanted everyone to see this piece that Sarah did for me. Now, Sarah, explain what this is.
Okay, so what is in the picture are different guides of Adelita's, and then there's also one past life. I can't remember exactly. Okay, so on the left is an aunt of hers that is passed, writing one of her spirit guides, which is the cat below. And then next to that is Archangel Michael, if I remember. I think it was what happens sometimes is guides will morph more than one into an actual being that's on the drawing or the painting, because I limit it to so many and they get excited, so they morph together. So if I remember, it's possibly two different archangels that are morphed together in that second one.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the back is her guide. The larger one is an intergalactic guide that connects her to, she's actually had so many past lifetimes. Can I share these things?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So many past lifetimes that she goes way back to the beginning of the ancient. I know people have seen this program, Ancient Aliens, but like clear back. So she is a very wise old soul and has lived many lives. And so that's why all this information is coming to her. And this guide in the very far back wanted to be known because it's a very strong guide that represents all of those galactic guides all the way up to her human lifetimes. And then right below that, now I think there's a little one in the back, isn't there? And that is her yoga guide. And she has a piece of her that that has this guide coming through that works with all of her healing abilities, all of her yoga abilities. And so basically being the mirror to other people, that empathic part of her, that healing part of her, there's a whole realm in that guide right there. And then below that is her in a past life. And if I remember right, that one is, so when you have lived so many lifetimes, you are like a hodgepodge of lots of different beings that you've been, or you are a piece of that in this lifetime because it carries over. And so that one represents not only what we call, or what I call, an earth angel, somebody who has amped up healing abilities. So when you see their smile, when you hear their voice, when you feel their touch, immediately you feel better. Adelita is has those gifts as well. So it's not only the healing ability, but it's amped up. Like all she has to do is keep her light going, and she walks in a room and she clears the energy. So you're going to notice Adelita when she walks in, and Spirit's confirming this. How do I know? Because I feel the chills and the tingles. When she walks in a room, you may have your eyes closed and you're going to feel, if you're empathic, you're going to feel it, but everybody's going to feel it. They're going to feel that energy just clear the space. All of a sudden you're having a bad day and you look up and look at this beautiful woman, and you're going to feel it. Like, it doesn't matter if she's got every hair sticking up, you're going to feel that beauty and that love. And it's because of that amped up earth angel energy. And then on the right, I can't remember what that one was, but I know that that's another one of her guides, that the circles are like explaining different types of portals and energies, and her being able to travel in those. She does a lot of astrally traveling into different dimensions to learn different things. That one's kind of the shamanistic as well as the Hioka one. So there's just a lot of different things going on. I might have missed some of that because I forget a lot of what's going on. Was there anything else in that? Do you remember, Adelita?
No, I think, that, and then you just said that it took you a while because a lot was coming in, and that explains, because you say that sometimes you draw things and you put like energy into the paintings that comes, that is supposed to come later, that you told me that you were doing that. So I think that's wonderful as well. And I think people need your light in the world and the very beautiful things that you do. And you mentioned Tina Escoto at the beginning. Yeah. And I want to tell you, I love Tina. I seriously, and I actually wrote about her in my book. She doesn't know yet, but I didn't name her by name. But that's when I was searching and I was asking, and I was, I tell people I fell to my knees, my heart broke open. And when I was searching, I followed signs and I ended up where I ended up. And she was one of my first teachers. So I love her, and I'm actually going to have her on as well. So I'm excited.
Yeah, you guys need to search her out, Tina Escoto, Mystic Horse Journeys, because I'm telling you, I went to her first class and I felt like I felt like she accepted. It doesn't matter what came out, what I said, how as I was learning, she was totally acceptable of it. And she'd say, just let it out. Just we're all here to do the same thing, and just let it out. And being able to just let it out, and whatever weird noise came out, whatever, she was fine with it and accepting of it. And I'm telling you, I think that ability to be able to do that is why I grew so fast, because
Absolutely.
I was so confined by worry of what people thought and judgment and all of that. Even if people didn't feel that way, that's how my mind was telling me, like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. People will call me weird. And she literally was like, do it. We want you to do it. Let it go. And it was huge. And she's wonderful. And she was one of my first teachers and mentors.
Mine as well. Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you for allowing me to share my piece and explain that. So you have a blessed day. I'm grateful for you, and I thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.